Why did your parents beg you to leave the rich doctor they forced you to date? I was 19 when my parents started pushing me toward Dr. Adler, this 32-year-old surgeon who lived 2 streets over. They called him perfect husband material. He drove a black Mercedes, wore these expensive tailored suits everywhere, and had this smile that could convince anyone of anything. The problem was, I wasn't interested. I had just started college studying architecture and had a boyfriend named Matt who worked at this little bookstore downtown. My parents kept telling me Matt can't give you a future like Dr. Adler can. They arranged these awkward family dinners where they'd invite him over, constantly brought him to neighborhood barbecues, and started dropping hints about how lucky I'd be if he chose me. The pressure got worse when Adler started giving me expensive gifts, diamond bracelets, fancy flower arrangements, even an iPad, though I never asked for any of it. At first, I tried politely rejecting his advances, but my parents were relentless. They compared every little mistake Matt made with Adler's accomplishments. When I stayed out late with Matt, my mom accused me of throwing away my chance at security. When Matt's car broke down and he couldn't pick me up, they'd say, "See, this is what happens when you date someone without money." Eventually, I gave up and caved. I broke up with Matt and started dating Adler, telling myself it was just easier this way. Dating him felt like living inside a glass display case. He was charming and perfect in public, but controlling in private. He checked my phone constantly, dictated what clothes I wore to events, and insisted I drop my architecture major for something lighter, so I'd be home more often. When I complained, he'd buy me something expensive and say he just wanted to take care of me. My parents ignored every red flag, brushing it off as just his protective nature. Then one night after a dinner party at his house, I noticed bruises on his housekeeper's wrist while she was clearing dishes. The woman avoided eye contact completely and whispered, "Please don't stay with him," before slipping out of the room. That moment shook me. I started paying attention to things I'd ignored before. His anger when the waiter brought the wrong wine order, his dismissive tone with nurses at the hospital, the way his dog flinched whenever he raised his voice even slightly. 2 months later, I accidentally overheard him on the phone screaming at someone about making another mistake with the pills. I listened from the hallway and pieced together that a patient had died due to his negligence, but he was covering it up somehow. The conversation was about falsifying records and paying people to stay quiet. I told my parents, expecting them to finally see reason. Instead, they told me I was imagining things and accused me of trying to sabotage my own future. They said I was being paranoid and ungrateful. I almost gave up until Adler showed up drunk at my apartment one night, furious that I hadn't answered his text fast enough. He pounded on the door so loudly that 3 different neighbors called the police. The officers pulled me aside and told me quietly this isn't the first call we've had about him. They said there had been complaints from other women and suggested I be careful. That was the crack in the perfect illusion. I packed a bag that same night and left to stay with my friend Jessica. For the first time ever, my parents panicked. Not about my safety, but about what people would say if word got out about me leaving him. When the hospital finally started investigating him for malpractice 3 weeks later, my parents tried rewriting history. They insisted they'd always had doubts about him and begged me to cut all ties immediately. Not because they wanted to protect me, but because they were terrified of being connected to his growing scandals. They were worried about their reputation in the neighborhood. I rebuilt my life on my own terms, got back together with Matt, worked late nights to finish architecture school, and moved across town.